Hello, everyone, and welcome to Let's Be Real, everyone's favorite podcast. I am Nayan, your host for today, and I'm joined here by the Lasso, James. How you doing, mate?
Well, I just came out of an IMAX screening for Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, so I'm doing very well. Thank you, mate.
Good weekend?
It was all right. We're 1 year older now.
We are, both of us.
Both of us, yeah.
Last time you guys listened to us, we went up a number.
We were down a number last time, and now we're at this age. We're not just disclose our ages.
I don't care.
Huh? You don't care?
I don't care.
We'll save it for another time. But yeah, no. So we had a good week. We got to celebrate our birthdays together. We gave each other some awesome 4Ks. I got Nayan Secret Life of Pets 1 and 2 for the bargain of a lifetime. But I also got him some other good stuff, so hopefully he appreciates that.
That's true. I definitely know, James liked mine too, that I gave him.
Yeah. Oh, you gave me some great stuff. Yeah. Two of my all-time, top 50s, I'd say, for sure. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. And we almost skipped over it. What do we do on Saturday?
We watched the greatest sports team win.
The Sixers were not playing, so what sports team did we watch?
The Warriors.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the Dolphins.
Got a big one. Literally. A big one on Saturday. That was hype.
Yeah.
I actually enjoyed myself cheering.
He didn't really, just pulled a muscle in his shoulder.
I did.
And I wasn't there to see it, unfortunately.
No. My other mate was, though.
Yeah. But it was nice to go to a Warriors game. I always love seeing Nayan at his highest emotion. And yeah, you either get that in a very good movie or you get that at a Warriors game. But you also get to see the worst Nayan at a sports game as well. So
yes,
we didn't get that today or on Saturday, sorry, because
not at all, because we won.
The Warriors dominated and they're having a good season. I see playoffs, maybe.
Don't jinx it, cunt.
You know, I think they're going to win the whole thing. They're going to win the whole fucking thing. We'll get to Ted Lasso soon because I have a lot to say about it. But yeah, no. Warriors were good. We have All Blacks soon.
Next month, yep.
Yeah, we're going to an All Blacks game. That is going to be a very interesting podcast after it because that podcast that we do in that time will have either Barbie and Oppenheimer screening. We'll have just seen Mission Impossible. If All Blacks lose, angry Nayan.
Absent Nayan.
Yeah, NZIFF would be starting up. It's going to be a very hectic time for us, but it's everything that we love, and I'm very much looking forward to an All Blacks game. Much more than a Warriors game because one team's actually good.
Both? Yeah, one team is good this
Warriors.
year, and that's the Warriors because All Blacks haven't played.
I was going to make the joke, and I'm like, maybe it's not a joke, actually.
Anyway, hope you enjoyed sports games. I love it. You love it. The world loves it. Here on the Let's Be Real podcast, we like to bring you all the latest and greatest news from the entertainment industry, ranging from blockbuster hits to indie flicks. You know it, we got it covered. And if you're a real movie buff, head over to moviegames.com and we write about a lot of stuff there as well, like box office, some physical media, more reviews, and yeah, even our podcast is there. So today we will be covering, obviously, the weekend box office results, the cast for the live-action How to Train Your Dragon film, Disney wanting to make The Lion King a big franchise, Tom Cruise wanting Oppenheimer and Barbie. God, I almost called it almost like merged the two words.
Sorry?
I almost said Oppenheimer's Oppen Me. Wanting to be moved. Vin Diesel having angry thoughts towards Jason Mamoa. A Miles Morales live-action Spider-Man film. Spider-Man 4, as in Tom Holland's Spider-Man, somewhat being confirmed. And then, obviously, our Ted Lasso 3 review. So sit back, relax, and crack open a cold one. So, the weekend box office for this week. Obviously, and number one is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. That one opened to $120.5 million. In second, we have The Little Mermaid, $40.6 million. In third, we have The Boogeyman, and that came in at 12.3 million. And then we have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, 10.2 million. And unshockingly, Fast X is in at fifth place with 9.24 million.
Wow.
So, what are your thoughts on this weekend's results?
I'll do what you did. I'll start from the bottom up. Fast X dropping like a rock. 60% on, what was it, the third weekend? Like usually, and I say this to you all the time, the second weekend for really big movies, front-loaded movies, it's usually that 60 to 65% drop. And then they stabilize. They're around that, 45 to 55% mark. For a third, weekend, 60% drop, that's crazy.
Guardians beat it.
Yeah, I know. And it's Guardians, fifth week, which is just ridiculous. And that dropped pretty steep for, I think it's its sharpest drop so far, which is actually quite strange. But yeah, no, Fast X, I don't have much hopes for that movie domestically, which is, I think is at 128 million. But the worldwide total surpassed the 600 million mark. It may be able to claw its way to 700 million, which is, it's not good because it's 340 million budget, just the production budget alone, so it's not great for it. But I think it's around expectations and it's not a massive flop. So we have a lot more to talk about with the Fast and Furious franchise, but it's reached its end of its peak.
Sorry, Vinny Boy, but there ain't going to be a third one.
The Hobbs movie.
Yeah, maybe.
Guardians of the Galaxy, 51% drop. I think this is great. It's getting flooded with competition now. A Fast X, withstood that. Little Mermaid, now Spider-Man here. Those are all different demographics, so it's just kind of eating away at it. But it surpassed the global total of the first one.
Oh, that's good.
It probably won't reach the second one. And domestically, it'll pass the first one, but it won't pass the second one. So it's sandwiched in between the two, which is really what I expected from the entire thing. Boogeyman, 12.3. It's a fine, solid opening. Nothing more to say about that one. Love the emphasis you put on the Boogeyman.
The Boogeyman. Because I want to freak out any little kids that listen to us.
Fair enough. Little Mermaid dropped 58%. I remember last week I said to you, I think it's going to run between 50 and 55, which is quite on the steep edge for like live action remakes. Most of the other ones have dropped less than around like 45 to 50. Thought Little Mermaid had a little bit more, but this is significant. I think it's only at like 340 around that area for its global so far. It'll make 500, but you're looking at around 575 to 650 total. I predicted the high end of that, but anything under 600, I think Disney looking at it being like, we got to change our strategy here.
Will they though?
Pardon?
Will they though?
I don't know. Lion King might become a saga.
We'll get to that.
More on that soon. And I want to get to the big one of this is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, 120 million. That is ridiculous, man. I think the first one opened up to like 36. And I know for a fact that this opening here, it's like, I think that first Into the Spider-Verse got like 100 and... Oh, no, my memory would be too faint to get an accurate number there. But, from this opening here, it's already made 63% of what Into the Spider-Verse made in one weekend. And if you look at the, global intake, which is 208 million, that's 55 of the global total for Into the Spider-Verse global total. So it made over half of it already, which is just ridiculous. And, we've seen the positive, word of mouth, which is astronomical, very high. This will withstand competition. This will destroy Elemental come 2 weeks from now. Mm-hmm. Elemental will bomb. It won't do well. Pixar is no longer the king when it comes to animation. I think you're in for a very big run for Spider-Verse. Perhaps I'll say this, 400 million domestically. It could get to that. I think $1 billion's out of reach, I think. But I think you could get to 900. Imagine Spider-Verse getting to 900.
That's good.
That is crazy, considering the first one made like 390. Yeah.
Almost triple.
Yeah, that's crazy. It just shows good quality movies, innovative, technology, putting real effort and care into all this kind of stuff. It really does pay off in the end.
And less,
Like, yeah,
stuff being pushed on or studio meddling.
exactly. I mean, you're looking at all these examples right here in front of your face. Little Mermaid dropping more than everything else because people are sick of just bland live action remakes. There's no creativity in it. Guardians took, collateral damage from bad MCU reputation, held on so strongly more than like most MCU movies, and it's got a good run now.
Mm-hmm.
Fast X, just milking a franchise to its bone, like good quality stuff. People will pay to go see it again. They'll pay to take their mates to it or to take their partner to it or the kids to it,
We'll see it again and again and again and again and again.
Yeah, I mean, I just saw Spider-Verse, and then me and you were just talking before, like, we're going to go see it in IMAX because...
I don't agree to that.
Yeah, you did agree to that. But you see my point, though, Like,
yeah.
We see a good movie together, and we're like, okay, we have to go see that again, but in better format. We'll pay more money to go see it again.
Because it's worth it.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, like, what do you think about these results? Specifically, I want to know what you think about Spider-Verse's just massive opening weekend.
Biggest for the year. Am I right?
No.
What was the biggest?
Mario got 146.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, even though it opened on Wednesday, which is just amazing in terms of what it did. But hey, look, the top 2 of the year
animated films.
That's crazy. That is interesting.
True.
Yeah.
But now that I wasn't expecting something like this big, I was expecting something in like the 90s to. Why'd you pull away from your drink? As if you were scared or I gave you a shock.
Because I might have a bit more. I might have a drink later on in the podcast.
Right.
I got to conserve it. We got a lot more to talk about.
Well, you do. I've blown through my drink and I don't think I can have another. Because there's no more mixes.
Fair enough.
What was I saying? Oh, yeah. I was expecting around about the 90 to 100 range for the opening weekend, but 120, that's mean. That like pretty much almost doubled Guardians opening.
Yeah.
Very close to doubling Fast X as well.
Mm-hmm.
This is all good, positive stuff. I did think the worldwide total was a bit on the low end for me. So I don't know whether this type of film doesn't have that reach worldwide compared to just in the States. But hopefully come second week, and obviously the positive word of mouth and whatnot, that number should rise, or hopefully it does rise because it should rise.
That's what I think, yeah.
I think the biggest surprise for me for this weekend was actually Guardians overlapping Fast X.
Fast X, yeah.
Even though it came out 2 weeks before as well. like goes to show that no one cares about what the Fast and Furious franchise is doing.
Yeah. And, who can blame them? They've done the same thing for ages, and now they're like, oh, okay, we're going to end it,
Yeah.
And now people are like, oh, we don't care. We're past it. We're done. Yeah.
So, yep, hopefully the next one is its last one, and I don't think Vin Diesel's going to get his trilogy ending.
No. I think, for the most part, Fast and Furious should be done, and I'm talking spin-offs and all. But, yeah, no, initially I thought Spider-Verse was going to be around 95 million. Earlier in the week, before tracking came out, I went up to 115 million based on word of mouth and everything, and it got pretty close to that. So, yeah, do check out our weekend forecast because, we get pretty close most of the time.
We do.
Unless it's Shazam and bombs way more than we ever predict.
It's because it's DC.
The Flash is coming up, so
we'll see.
Watch us miss again.
All right, so those of you that may know or may not know, there is a live action How to Train Your Dragon film coming out. They're going to have a big budget for that because majority of that film had a fuckload of dragons in it. So on to you guys at DreamWorks or whoever's the studio doing this. Good luck. But we've got our casting for the 2 main characters, Hiccup and Astrid.
Mm-hmm.
So playing Hiccup is Mason Thames. He played the little kid in the black phone that got kidnapped. And then Astrid is Nico Parker, who's been in, she was Sarah and in The Last of Us TV series. So it's fairly relatively new actors and actresses to their career. What do you think of these casting, this casting announcement? And do you like the idea that they're going with people with barely any filmography to like try build them up or stuff like that?
I've only seen Nico Parker in Dumbo, the live action remake, recently in 2018, I believe. I haven't seen the actor who'll be portraying Hiccup in this. But, the whole idea of, a live action How to Train Your Dragon, it goes to what you just mentioned, budget. Like, if they're going to do this, it's going to look cheap because it requires a heavy budget. And can they really... I don't even know if this movie can be done, like, on such a low budget. Sorry, I'm tangenting to, the main question that you said, but it's just something that I need to say because, you watch the animated movie and it's like, okay, this needs to be an animated movie. And it fits, it works, it's perfect as an animated movie. One of my favorite trilogies in terms of animation itself. But as a live action, I don't know if it can work in terms of budget. As for these actors being in it, you spoke about the actor who'll be playing Hiccup, and you said that he showed potential in the Black Phone, and that it's a decent enough casting. And I don't know enough about Nico Parker, but I believe that you also praised that performance. I don't know how that would helm a lead role in a major high budgeted film. That will have to wait to be seen. But I do believe this is the right way to do it. I think when you come to child performances, it needs to be actors that aren't like extremely well known, like Jacob Tremblay or Millie Bobby Brown back in the day, or Finn Wolfhard back in the day, because we saw how like that would go down. Those kind of actors would be getting cast in everything. So it's good to just find new talent and allow them to figure out, playing a role in such a massive, high-budgeted blockbuster movie, and then they don't work, then there's plenty of talent out there, so you can find that. But yeah, I from what you say, I trust that these two can actually pull off the roles. As for the movie itself, I can't find myself looking forward to it at all, just because I just don't think it works, and it's not going to be better than what we got. It can only be either the same or less.
Exactly. I mean, name me a live action film from Disney that is on par with the original.
There might be one.
Jungle Book. Do you think that's on par or better?
Jungle Book's good. It's actually really good. I wouldn't.
Cinderella, Beauty and the Beast.
No, not Beauty and the Beast.
Aladdin.
No. Jungle Book might be. That's probably as close as I'd go. Yeah.
So yeah, I when this cast, when you showed me this news of this How to Train Your Dragon live action, I said to you straight, I was like, I didn't like this.
Was this ages ago when it was announced?
When it was first announced, yeah. I was like, no, I don't like this because I'm a fan of the first one, or the animated series, and I just don't think they'll be able to capture that in a live action format unless you give it a $500 million budget, which is literally impossible because the amount of dragons and scenes is going to be insane for this. Otherwise, just going to look like the Jungle Book. Yeah, there's no coke in there, bro. Otherwise, it's just going to look like fake sort of dragon stuff that just looks like a video game. It's just not going to be good. I mean, if it gets a budget off something like House of Dragon or something like that, it's going to be good. But the dragons were barely in that, and you can't have that in a film titled How to Train Your Dragon. Considering
why not? If there's House of the Dragon and they can barely have dragons in that, why couldn't they do that in this?
Because literally one of the main characters is a dragon.
Who?
What's his name? Forgot it. The black one. Toothless.
He's not really a character, doesn't speak or anything.
Was he's a big part of the film, Hiccup's relationship with him.
If it was just that dragon, you could get away with it pretty easily. The first one doesn't have too much dragons, isn't it?
No,
I know
the second and third one.
Yeah, they go like into like their nest. No, the first one goes into the nest, I'm pretty sure. I remember he sees like the big mother one, and
yeah,
it's
and
like, we've been thinking about them all wrong. Like they steal our stuff to feed the mother. Yeah.
So,
But yeah,
there's a lot of dragons.
there's a lot of dragons. Yeah, but no, you're right. I just don't think it can work out.
Yeah. I do like the casting announcements. What's his name? Mason Thames was really good.
Mhm.
I enjoyed his performance in The Black Phone. He showed like a real good, like emotional and sort of scared sort of kid. So it'd be nice to see him play like a nervous, somewhat character. And he sort of has that hiccup look as well, the messy hair and whatnot. So I think he can do that portrayal justice. Nico Parker, awesome name. I think she'll be good. I would say that this is probably her biggest role. Because at least in the Black Phone, Mason, he was somewhat like a co-lead, second to Ethan Hawke. But in The Last of Us, Nico was like only in 2 episodes for probably about, I don't know, half an hour in total, if that.
Yeah.
But what she showed and her potential in that is really good as well. The sort of emotional side and worriedness and stuff like that. I haven't seen her in anything else, so I haven't seen her in Dumbo, what she's like in that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think she's like new ground to be found. You can strike gold with her.
Yeah.
Just based on what I've seen her,
and
I think she'll be able to fit the character right. As well.
Yeah. When I think about voice actors and some of the best all time, things that come to me are Tom Hanks as Woody, Tim Allen as Buzz Lightyear, not Chris Evans, Ellen DeGeneres as Dory,
Robin Williams as Genie.
Of course, yep. I'm not naming them all, but I'm just naming some that come to mind because there's quite a few out there. Jason Bateman's Zootopia. We'll keep going, but Jay Baruchel as Hiccup. It's very hard for me to imagine anyone else voicing or playing that role because it feels iconic to that character. Do you agree? And could Mason really make his mark in this? Is it replaceable?
Maybe, because he does, unless his voice drops, he does have that sort of like high-pitched sort of, voice to him, which is what forgot the actor's name already, the original one.
Yeah.
Did in the animated films, so I think he could nail that. In terms of Astrid, like she wasn't that big or scene stealing in the animated films, so Nico can literally make that role her own.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Mason could. He will never be as good as the original,
right?
Because that's just the way I think is that he can't top the original.
Yeah.
But he can get very damn close, or at least do it justice, which I think he has potential to.
Interesting. So if they were to do like a live action Toy Story, yeah, I know, but stick with me here, please, Disney. If you are listening, please don't do that.
They are gonna fucking do that.
Just do Toy Story 5, 6, and 7. Just don't make this live action. But if they did, and they had actors, could they we obviously saw Chris Evans fail. But my main question here is, could those an actor in a live action make their mark in such iconic roles in terms of voice performances? Or would you rank like, say Tom Hanks and Tim Allen a step above what Jay Baruchel brought to Hiccup?
League above.
Your league above. Is it because of the legacy of the franchise or the performances itself?
Both.
Fair enough, yeah.
Both easily. I mean, when you said best voice actors in an animated film, he wasn't even on your list.
No, I was saying that he was part of it.
Ah, right.
I said that I'd put him in that category.
Right. Well, if you mention that to anyone, they're going to say the 3 that we mentioned.
Ellen DeGeneres,
Genie,
Tim Allen,
Genie as well.
Genie,
Robin Williams.
You can even go to like people like Jack Black as Poe.
Yeah, you could. I think that's more on a lesser
I
scale.
think Dustin Hoffman as Shifu is probably better.
Shifu, yeah.
Yeah.
The Poe and that I would class in the same category as the live act.
What I'd put on the top 3, controversial, Jason Bateman as the Fox in Zootopia. I think that was one of the most perfect fucking casting choices that I've seen. It just fits so well.
Especially with his personality as well.
Yeah, but now that we're talking about this, I kind of want to do like a list and like figure out the top 10 of this.
We should do that. We should do more because I know that there's podcasts out there where they like say MCU phase 1 and then they rank it according to like, I don't know, S grade, A grade, B grade.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we could do something like that.
Yeah.
Have like S because S is like the top 10, then you got your A's and then your
B,
B's and
C,
then
D,
C's.
E.
Yeah.
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 Haley Steinfeld as Gwen Stacy. D.
Oh, Z. Fucking shit. Such a shit fucking film as well.
Oh, jeez, no. We know you don't think that.
No, but yeah, anything else to add on this? No, cool.
No.
We are
All
moving.
good.
We are moving on to the big man himself, good old Disney, and their love for live action and their love for the Lion King. So I can't. Is it the president of Disney? I can't remember. You might correct me after I'm finished, but I think it's the president of Disney has.
Sorry. May I interject here quickly before we start this topic? Some news just came out. The director of The Flash has been announced to direct The Brave and the Bold. Should we talk about this quickly? Because it's a pretty big decision.
Oh, it is, yeah. I feel, can we set it for next week? Because we'll actually see the Flash.
Just tied on at the back end, similar to how you did Rick Dalton passing away, unfortunately.
Okay,
yeah. Sorry, but I just saw that and I'm like, okay, that's a big thing. Because I know you're looking forward to that one, so yeah.
Yeah, we'll touch upon
we'll
it
get
quickly.
That soon. Carry on. Sorry for interjecting.
What I was saying, Disney's love for live action.
Mm-hmm.
The president has come out and said that he sees a potential in a live action The Lion King franchise equal or similar to Star Wars. So, you know what Star Wars is like. Milked it a lot. This is a live action Lion King franchise. What do you think from Disney?
Fire the president of Walt Disney, because that's just a lie. Why would you even say anything like that? Was he kidnapped? Is he drugged or drunk? Why would anyone say this? It makes zero sense. If he was to say, hey, there's potential in a live action Lion King universe, sure. Perhaps. It's not happening, but there is potential. You're gonna put it on the same league as Star Wars? Like, that's the top 3. It might even be the biggest franchise in the history of cinema.
Probably.
In the history of cinema. Of all time. Top 3 all time. And you're saying, oh, it has the potential to reach that. Like, no. It just doesn't. Like, say it has potential. Just don't, put it towards like some of the biggest, influences in cinema history of all time. It makes zero sense. I don't believe that there's no. I just don't think there's any potential in a Lion King live action universe. No one wanted to see Lion King 2. No one wanted to see Simone and Pumbaa's Lion King 3 spin-off, whatever DVD special, whatever that was. No one cares about Lion King beyond the first animated one.
Yeah, pretty much.
Most people that saw the live action one thought it was, strange, weird, dumb, bad, boring. There's a bunch of adjectives for it, but yeah, no. Now, if he was to say an animated Lion King franchise, I could lean towards it. I could, if they really put the care into it. We're seeing what Spider-Verse is doing. Clearly, people are going to that. But yeah, no, it just doesn't work as live action.
No, it's too hard, especially with animals. Yeah,
like the first one did the exact same thing, beat for beat, and we felt nothing. You felt no emotion. We know the Mufasa dying scene. Everyone knows the emotion that you feel when you watch that for the first time, and even consecutive times. It's such a powerful scene.
Yeah,
and I saw memes about Mufasa dying in the next one because it was just so dumb. You cannot put expressive, emotional faces on live action animals. They're either going to look weird, or you're going to break the live action thing, like direction you want to go to. Now, before, I'm not going to, cement my thoughts on this just yet, because Barry Jenkins, you know Barry Jenkins, right? He did Moonlight, won Best Picture. He did If Beale Street Could Talk, another great movie that was, I think it was nominated for Best Picture as well. He's a very talented filmmaker, and he is doing the prequel to The Lion King in live action, which is was very surprising because I felt very mixed about it because it's not really a story I feel needs to be done. It's live action, but it's you got an amazing creative team behind it. If he can come in and do that movie and it's, say an amazing movie, say 90% up, and we're like, oh, wow, that's amazing. That's really good. I could get behind it. Not to the point of Star Wars, but to be a franchise that can branch out and have storylines and all that kind of stuff. But, Barry Jenkins is like a top 30, top 20 director right now. So it'll be interesting. What's your take on this?
Yeah, I think it's dumb. Because
straight to the point.
Yeah, well, that's me. I think it's dumb. I mean, even if it was animation, I mean, they sort of did that, with Lion King 2, 3, and then the TV series. We sort of do have an animation franchise from the Lion King, and it didn't work. But then the fact that I want this to be live action on the same scale as Star Wars, Star Wars has 9 films in the main story, 2 spin-off films, live action. And then you have countless games, countless TV series as well. The animated TV series for most of the stuff they push out is actually really good. And that's why it's such a big juggernaut. But if animals in live action, you touched upon it before, and we touched upon it in The Little Mermaid as well, it's just, you can't do it.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
Yeah.
I mean, no, just leave The Lion King alone.
I would rather, this is for Little Mermaid specifically because there's a human being in it. Just have them animated, like intentionally animated,
similar to what they do in the SpongeBob films. How it's like the cartoon underwater, and then when they come up to like the real world, they're in that sort of animation sort of style.
I would do it like Garfield.
Right.
Do you remember the 2004 one and the sequel one where it's like in the
I've been
Queen's
waiting
Castle?
years for this.
Classic meme that I always sent to you. But Garfield doesn't look like a cat, but he's a cat, and you can tell if he's sad, he's happy. It's still expressive.
Or even Stuart Little. Sorry.
Yeah, Stuart Little as well. Doesn't look like a regular mouse, but he's a mouse. It's funny because in Garfield, Otis, the dog, it's just a real dog. So there's no expressions there. And it's kind of funny and because Garfield's like a complete like whole character and Otis is just like this dog running around doing whatever it needs to do. But yeah, if Disney want this to work, they need to it needs to blend animation and live action kind of together to really make it work or to make the audience buy into the emotion of the scene. Yeah.
Well, hopefully this is just an idea on a blackboard that gets erased.
Yep. Pretty much.
Because I think what Disney should focus on is creating new content or new ideas, trying to make the next Lion King rather than milking the Lion King.
Yep. 100%.
Although that's not really working for them.
No doubt.
Well. Next topic. Yep. Is Tom Cruise. He is wanting both Oppenheimer and Barbie to move their release dates because Oppenheimer and Barbie releases a week after Mission Impossible 7.
Yep.
And I think you mentioned to me you might get it. You can get into the technical details and whatnot, but majority of Mission Impossible was shot on IMAX with using IMAX cameras. I think this is what you said to me. So obviously it's only going to have that 1 week in the IMAX theaters, and then you're going to have Oppenheimer, directed by Christopher Nolan, King of IMAX, pretty much having a 3 month sort of dominance guaranteed for that runtime. So Mission Impossible is barely even going to get that. Realistically, he's only going to get a week for that. So do you think obviously Tom Cruise is obviously we can see his point of view, like, you know.
Yeah.
But do you think rather than two big movies being pushed back, just push Mission Impossible forward?
Personally, to quickly address the question, Tom Cruise, he has no business, being like this. He's not. He might be a producer, but he's not like the studio head. He doesn't decide release dates. He can't. I think it's unethical to force another movie studio to move their property.
Two movie studios, Warner Brothers and who's
Universal's Oppenheimer.
Universal.
And Mission Impossible is Paramount. Yeah, so forcing that I think is just wrong, and Tom Cruise has no place. But you are right. We get the point of view. We understand it. He's obviously very passionate about making movies, about releasing movies. And, we know that Mission Impossible, it's in its final two movies of all time. We know he's giving it his all, and we know he's at the age where he may not be able to give us much. And I think when he stops making or doing stunts the way he does on Mission Impossible, I think we're going to feel that. We're going to feel the lack of, real, practical action movies. So I do get it. But yeah, like you said, Nolan, he's the pioneer of IMAX, and what he has done, it was logged in that, Oppenheimer was scheduled for this time, has 3 weeks exclusive time in IMAX. So I get it. And then Dead Reckoning Part 1 was moved all around the place with COVID and whatnot. So they should have seen this coming a mile away. I don't know why it's an issue now. But taking away premium screens, because Barbie and Oppenheimer are going to be eating at each other all weekend. The premium screens, they add not a lot, but they add a significant margin to the box office. And Oppenheimer is not going to have exclusive premium screens throughout its run. It's going to have Barbie there. Mission Impossible may interfere. We have to see how this goes, but Mission Impossible is really, realistically, only going to have 1 week of premium screens, and then it's just done.
Yep.
No IMAX, and I am sad about this. I will probably see Oppenheimer in IMAX a good few times.
We'll probably need to go see Mission Impossible in IMAX together on opening weekend.
100%. I can't imagine the screening being in IMAX, but if it is, or if it isn't in IMAX, we will definitely go to it, because you are right. It was shot in 100% in IMAX cameras, digital IMAX cameras, but Oppenheimer is a 70mm film IMAX. So it's like the bigger aspect ratio, and
yeah,
I know the film reel was like 11 miles long.
I heard that, and I was like, "Wow, that's fucking stupid."
Yeah, it's a new technology, black and white film for IMAX, never been done before. They got that, and the way Nolan's been speaking about it, it's like a movie born for IMAX. So you can't really contend with a movie that is being made for IMAX compared to a movie such as Mission Impossible that is made to be, an action big screen blockbuster. You can't be mad that it's taken away IMAX, but you can be mad that it is taken away other screens. That's how I'll put it. But I get both sides of this. Nothing's changing. If they want to move times, they can. I don't know what comes out the week before Mission Impossible, but if Tom Cruise and Paramount have the problem, you move. No one else has to move. What are your thoughts?
Yep, pretty much exactly what you said. Even I'm going to touch on a point that you rambled on about when you're talking about discussing on, rambled on, chugging on, yarning on. Is how you mentioned that there's a black and white aspect to this film that's never been done on IMAX.
Yep.
This clearly shows that, yes, Nolan is an IMAX enthusiast, but he's also pushing the boundaries of IMAX as well, where everyone else is just shooting cameras, digital and whatnot. they're not doing it properly,
Mhm.
like with proper IMAX cameras film and whatnot, or trying to push it. So that's another reason why Nolan deserves that 3-week sort of exclusivity in IMAX
Yep.
sort of contract that he signed, because he does stuff like this. He pushes the boundaries. He makes films for IMAX.
Yeah.
Because that's his vision and that's his screen film sort of filmmaking as well.
Yeah.
I mean, Mission Impossible, it was supposed to come out in 2020 and then 2021 and then 2022 and then now 2023. They could have kept a release date for last year, and then we could have gotten Top Gun, and then a few months later, boom, Mission Impossible. Because last year was a quiet year as well. So Mission Impossible could have dominated. Or
I don't know where they were on the film in terms of production and editing and reshoots or whatever they need to do.
If a film was supposed to come out in 2020, you'd feel that majority of it is done.
I think Top Gun was 2020. I don't think Mission Impossible. I think Mission Impossible was always 2021.
I saw you had on like your top 10 for 2020.
Well, I remember they were filming during the COVID pandemic. I don't know why they would slate it before that.
Okay, yeah, maybe 2021 then.
Maybe they pushed it back for other reasons beside the pandemic. But yeah, I feel like they've had plenty of time to release this. They probably just didn't want to saturate the market with Tom Cruise. That's my only guess.
Maybe.
And now they've released it during a dense summer period. I think he's obviously concerned about box office and making money. It's going to beat both Barbie and Oppenheimer, regardless of the premium screens.
Through box office.
Through box office. Mission Impossible will beat both of them. It's an established, franchise. I don't think, that weekend with Barbie and Oppenheimer release, they're going to be around the 40, 50, 60 mark, and Mission Impossible will be coming off around 100 million, 80 to 100 million weekend. It's going to be a very stacked weekend regardless. I'd love to see how it does, but yeah, I think Tom Cruise, I think he's a little bit out of place here.
Should have moved to April. There was fuck all in April.
Yeah, if someone is making a movie for IMAX and they're doing everything for it, for that platform, for that brand, for that business,
and reinventing it as well,
they deserve it. I don't know if you watched the Nolan featurette for Oppenheimer on IMAX and how they were shooting.
Sort of stopped watching stuff for Oppenheimer and Barbie now.
Yeah, it was a featurette, so I was like behind the scenes, so you're hearing like Hoyt van Hoytema, the cinematographer, the producers, and Nolan talking about what they did for IMAX for this, and it's just like, well, it's for IMAX. I think you can't watch Oppenheimer in any other platform or format, in my opinion. Obviously, some people don't have IMAX.
Christopher Nolan literally blew up a bomb for this film.
Yeah,
not an atomic bomb, but a bomb.
Well, yeah, it's going to be very But man, Mission Impossible. We saw Fallout, and we know what they can do on IMAX. Yeah.
You should probably start rewatching the Mission Impossibles from tomorrow.
Me?
Me, sorry.
I'm watching Transformers at the moment.
Transformers. You're getting hyped for your boy.
Your boy.
Moving on. So we have some funny news, really. I don't think we'll talk about this unless we ramble on. Is that news came out how Vin Diesel is a little bit upset with his co-star Jason Mamoa. You're probably thinking, oh shit, what happened? Did they have like beef or something? Did they not agree with the storyline? No, Vin Diesel's just not happy with how the critics and fans are saying that Jason Momoa was fantastic in this film as Dante Reeves or whatever his last name is. And he pretty much stole the show of Fast X because, he was fantastic in it. And obviously Vin Diesel, the head honcho of the Fast franchise, didn't like that. So he's getting a bit upset with Jason Mamoa. Don't know why, because his character's a bit bland, but I'm sure we'll both go into that. Do you think Vin Diesel has any rights in this? And do you think it's now a Vin Diesel problem with this franchise? Because you know how he had that beef with Dwayne Johnson and stuff like that. This is now 2 cases.
Yeah. Absolutely. And, further to the report says that Vin Diesel's embarrassed, as Jason Momoa is being, despite the poor reviews, it's being noted that Jason Momoa is one of the only bright spots for it. He's obviously jealous and embarrassed by it. And I'm not surprised at all when I saw these. Like, they're dumb and they're stupid, and it's 100%. I have no doubt this is a Vin Diesel problem. Vin Diesel's been around since the first one, and I feel that he looks at this as like his baby. He blew this franchise up to what it is now, and if anyone comes close to taking that little bit of thunder from him, it's beef. It's bad. It's not good. You know, we saw Hobbs being an extremely popular character. You know, obviously Dwayne Johnson brings his own charisma to the role, and he came around when Fast 5 came out, which is when the franchise blew up to the bigger proportions that it is now. And, you know, Vin Diesel, I think, didn't like that. I know he didn't like that Dwayne Johnson and Jason Statham were making Hobbs and Shaw movie. He didn't like that they were doing a spin-off away from the family. But yeah, I think it's ego, it's jealousy, it's all the negative things that go against the main theme of Fast and Furious, which is family. And I know they're not a legitimate family, but they are, you know, they're a cast. Should have a family dynamic. You know, they all work together to make the franchise its own special thing. And for Vin Diesel to have these kind of attitudes and viewpoints, you go against everything that people like about the Fast and Furious franchise. It's not about family. That's about you. That's your ego. You need people to praise you. I'm sorry, Vin Diesel. Like, your performance as Dominic Toretto is nothing.
Literally.
Like, you're a competent actor. I can say that. But Dominic Toretto has no charisma. He just pouts. He says everything in the same tone. There's nothing interesting about the character. No one cares about Dominic Toretto. No one cares if he dies. Jason Mamoa can shoot him in the face at the opening scene of the next movie. I'm like, okay, cool, next scene. I don't care. It's not about that at all. Like, I'm sorry, I'm just being honest. And I have to. Vin Diesel can just be like, okay, cool, I'm out of the Fast and Furious franchise. I don't care. I don't care. It's not about him. Fast and Furious, you know, the whole franchise is not about him. It's about, I guess, the concept, the
Cars.
Absurdity, the cars, the street racing. It's about that culture. It's not about Vin Diesel or Dominic Toretto. He is a clog in the machine of Fast and Furious, and so is every other cast member in their stories. I just had to rant about that because it's just annoying me now, and I feel bad because I kind of blame Dwayne Johnson a little bit for the feud, and I look back on it like an idiot now. I think it's Vin Diesel, and yeah. What do you think?
Yeah. Stole the words out of my mouth and then some. Yeah, I think he's a fucking idiot.
I mean,
I've been saying that a lot on this podcast, guys.
Yeah.
Yep, I just had a look at the topics. I think that this might be the last time you hear me say those words. But yeah, I think it's so petty. Like, because I'll touch upon the Dominic Toretto character that you mentioned before. He's literally like, he's just the same stoic character. Boring, you know. His line delivery is literally in the same tone, same facial expressions, everything. Jason Mamoa was literally every emotion possible. Like, you could see it. He was just there talking to dead people, but doing it in an entertaining way, you know. It's very Joker-esque is what I've seen from some comments as well.
Interesting. It's different. Yeah.
And then when he needed to be intense, he was intense. When he needed to be goofy, he was. And he did that in his tone of voice and his facial expressions and, you know, his mannerisms. Instead of just standing there like fucking jacked up guy or for my family.
Hey, son, you know how to drive?
You did good, little B.
Fuck off, Dad. Go away.
Yeah, Jesus. So yeah, this is very petty for him, and I mean, obviously, the Fast and Furious franchise would be nothing without him because he was a main essential pillar in it. Him and Paul Walker.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, because Paul Walker passed away, the spotlight's pretty much on him.
Yeah.
And his character. So that does hamper it a little bit, and dumb. Dumb.
I hope the report is false.
I do too.
Yeah.
Because if it is genuinely true, then
It's just petty. It's obviously just ego.
and I think it's just a bad look on Vin Diesel's part.
It's really bad because it makes zero sense.
Exactly.
You have someone new coming into basically your baby of a franchise, and people are liking that, and you're like, no, it's nothing to do with me. I have to hate it.
Because imagine if Jason Mamoa wasn't the scene-stealing person. He was just, your similar, boring sort of villain.
Yeah.
The score would be way lower. The box office receipts would be way lower as well.
Yeah, lower than they are.
Yeah. They already are low, but it'll be
Yeah.
lower. Like people are going to the film because they're hearing fantastic things about Momoa's performance, or at least what I hear in New Zealand, at least,
Yeah.
is because of that performance, and it's more of that performance rather than watching a Fast and Furious franchise.
Yeah.
But yeah, Vin Diesel, get your head out of your ass and move on.
Jeez, even further than me.
Right, so building up on this Spider-Verse sort of hype and Miles Morales character, it's been somewhat announced that there is going to be a live-action Miles Morales film. So he's obviously got his animated franchise. He's gotten a game for himself, and now he's getting this live-action film. Do you think they're milking this for whatever they can, or are you like genuinely excited for it? Because if you add on the live-action stuff, we also have the live-action Spider-Man that's in the MCU right now and stuff like that. Do you think it's just too much? Like, do you think Miles Morales should just stay in animated for now until Peter's story is finished, and then you can bring in a live-action Miles Morales? Or are you happy for more Spider-Man?
Really depends on, the way it goes, whether it's an MCU, crossover with, the Sony Marvel thing, or whether it's its own thing back at the Sony universe. I do agree that, in terms of live action Spider-Man, you should be wrapping up, Peter and then putting in Miles. You could do both. The Spider-Man 2, PlayStation 5 game coming out in fall, that will be doing both. So I'd have to see how that goes and if it can work, if it could translate to live action.
You've watched the gameplay for that?
I have watched gameplay for that. It does look great, and I've heard really good things about that game, so it's one I'm looking forward to. I think it can work, but it makes me wonder when the Spider-Man era will end, because it's been an amazing, just constant barrage of great stuff. It's obviously going to come when, Across the Spider-Verse is at the peak of its powers, biggest opening day of the year. Miles Morales live action. If it can, the ending of Beyond the Spider-Verse is Miles jumping into a live action universe where he appears live action.
I think I mentioned that either in a future podcast years ago when they first announced that, or if it was just you, me, and Khan talking. I was like, oh, what's a better way to go beyond the Spider-Verse live action? And
I do remember this. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, I could, if it can work, I would like to see it.
Or he just goes into the live action, but he's his own animated self.
Nah, that would be weird. I couldn't.
Still better live action than whatever Disney does.
Yes. Nah, it'd still be weird. I couldn't be a part of it. So yeah, in terms of I'm looking forward to it, I'm gonna say no. And I'm a big Spider-Man fan. Miles, Peter, whoever it may be, just the Spider-Man persona in general. It's just because I'm so satisfied right now. In terms of gameplay, we're having some of the best superhero games come out with Spider-Man. It's kind of rivaling the Batman, Arkham series. What?
Nothing.
It is. Spider-Man 1 was like at that level.
I wouldn't say it's as good, but it's definitely on that tier.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got the Batman bias behind you, so pretty sure Spider-Man 1 Game of the Year as well. Or like, depends which festival. Or
pretty sure Arkham Asylum did as well.
Yeah, I know.
I know Arkham City definitely did.
Yeah. That one's good. I'm just saying.
I was actually thinking about the other day today actually, because I watched a gameplay and I was like, I think this is like this is Spider-Man's version of the Arkham series.
Yep.
Miles Morales was good, but it felt more of a DLC rather than its own full game.
I'm not talking about that.
Oh, just Spider-Man and
just Spider-Man 2, and then the third one if there is one.
Yeah. So
I was disappointed by Miles Morales. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think what they're doing in terms of the games with Spider-Man is very close to that, but I still think just in terms of like the gameplay and the story for the Arkham games, especially the first two, they're just fantastic.
Well, you can't compare them yet because it's 1 versus 3.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, 100% when I was playing them, I was like, okay, this is very heavily inspired by how Batman and how that was portrayed through it.
Yeah.
But yeah, further to the point, it's dominating, the gameplay side of it. It's dominating live action. We just got one of the best live action versions, No Way Home. It's dominating the animated movies. Where else? They're just trying to squeeze out more. Sony is at the height of its powers now, Spider-Man, and I did not think they could get to this level, but they have. Don't milk it. Don't push it too far. Just maybe not Miles Morales live action, perhaps Spider-Woman, something else. Don't go with Miles Morales.
We are getting that.
Yeah. Spider-Woman.
Yeah.
I know we are getting that, or a Madam Web coming soon as
Madam
well.
Web. I saw a
Dakota Johnson one.
I saw a post earlier today of all the different things Spider-Man related, and it's actually a huge list. Some that I haven't even heard of before, but the main ones is obviously getting the Craven and the Hunter one, which we've seen no footage for, and apparently comes out this year.
Apparently.
And then we have Madam Web, which is next year.
Yep.
Apparently, and then we've obviously have Spider-Man 4. We'll touch up on that later, and now this, and then Beyond as well. So there's a lot coming out.
If I was
Venom 3. Sorry.
Huh?
Venom 3 as well.
Is Venom 3 announced officially?
I think so. I can't pronounce his name.
They kind of wasted whatever they did at the end of the second one.
That was fucking dumb.
He went back to
Yeah, he did, and then his like little symbiote just stayed in that MCU.
Oh yes. Okay, that's exciting, but it's not Venom himself. It's annoying. But just going back, I thought that Spider-Man would be over-marketed and milked to a point where I wouldn't be interested in much a few years ago. And since then, we've got the game. We've got the Miles Morales game, the Spider-Verse movies.
No Way Home.
He's been in Homecoming and then Civil War, Homecoming, Infinity War, Endgame, Far From Home, No Way Home. There's been a lot of Spider-Man over the last 6 years. And we're not sick of him at all. Like there's no fatigue. It's like, oh, we need Beyond Spider-Verse right now. We need to see Spider-Man 4. He's at the peak right now, and he's incredibly dense. If it's quality, I'm in. But I stand by caution with live action Miles at this point in time.
Yeah. Maybe
wait a good few years, but if it's quality, no one's going to complain. We can see that.
Yeah, I agree with you as well. I think, Peter's story is still being told. Just finish that, and then at the end, or when it's definite, Tom Holland's final film as I'm just going to relate this to the MCU because I assume it's going to be part of the MCU. But for when it's Tom Holland's final film as Spider-Man, then they can bring in Miles Morales similar to what they did in the game.
Yeah,
and then from there, boom, have his own film. That doesn't feel like a DLC, by the way. And, go from there.
Yeah.
I think what they saw of how positive these reactions are, and obviously the box office things, they want to strike the iron while it's still hot. But if you do that, you're going to end up being burned, really.
If it's bad, or
if the quality's not good.
If it's mid, for that sake,
I think it really depends on the studio, because if it's Sony, then I think it's approach with caution, because Venom hasn't been that great of films. Morbius wasn't.
Spider-Verse.
Yeah, but that's animated. I'm talking about live action. Sorry.
It's still Sony. Like, in terms of films, they're very mixed when it comes to any Spider-Man property.
Yeah, they are, because they obviously have the Raimi trilogy, and then you have the Amazing Spider-Man trilogy.
It's very it's very sequels. All over. And then you got the Spider-Verse. Obviously, they're animated, but it's part of Sony's filmography, and so it's like you're only going to get a hit or miss. And then if it's MCU related, I think now it's safe to say it could be a hit or miss as well, you know?
Yeah, it'll be definitely interesting. But yeah,
Okay, I'll say this before we wrap up this one. Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, get them involved in Miles Morales live action. I'm all for it, 100%.
have they done live action directing before?
Yep. They didn't do Dungeons and Dragons, I don't think. They did the 21 Jump Streets.
Ah, yes.
They did Cloud with the Chance of Meatballs, animated though. Never since Spider-Verse 2. So as filmmakers, they are very good at what they do.
That's true, yeah.
Yep.
Definitely. Now moving on from one spider to another, we've got a
Nice transition.
somewhat a confirmation that Tom Holland's Spider-Man 4 is pretty much happening.
Mhm.
And Zendaya will be reprising her role as MJ as well. Obviously there's no release date yet because it's been delayed due to the writer's strike.
Yeah.
But it's going to happen whether it's 2025, 26 or 27. What are your thoughts on this, and what would you like to see the story go? What direction?
Interesting. I think we all knew they were gonna do Spider-Man 4.
Especially the way the last one ended.
Yeah, we heard about we heard rumblings, or that Sony may want to pull out now because you got a $1.9 billion movie here that never released in China.
Yes.
Yeah, it would have done like at least 2.3, 2.4 billion total for a Spider-Man movie. Sony could have just pulled out and be like, okay, Marvel, we're done. Hope you've had a good time using our character. We're going to, use Tom Holland, Andrew Garfield, and Tobey Maguire in our own movies now. And hey, we'll put in all these, live action Miles Morales. They could do that. So it's very surprising that they're working on Spider-Man 4. And I guess they could still, because I heard it from Amy Pascal, who is the head of Sony. She's the one that said these words. Obviously, Tom Holland confirmed them. But it could still be a Sony exclusive property. I doubt they'll do that, though. Just because I feel like Spider-Man is going to be one of the core Avengers moving forward in this next saga. But the direction that I want this movie to go, I don't know. So many mixed thoughts on this one. I don't want Zendaya a part of it. I think I think we spoke about this very recently, and I said the same thing. Spider-Man is a character that has tragedy in his life, and he needs to figure out how to move on from that. He takes losses. Spider-Man is a sacrifice. It was a big message in Across the Spider-Verse, and it was a part of No Way Home as well. He sacrificed no one knowing him. Aunt May died, but Zendaya's character MJ and Ned, not knowing him, his two closest people that he has left now, not knowing him. He sacrificed that for the betterment of a large portion of people. And if they're a part of the next one, it kind of just it doesn't make it feels that sacrifice has no emotional weight to it anymore, because he's just reconciliated with them and just told them everything. And sure, you could say like, oh, he said he was going to go back and tell them, but he did go back to tell them, and then he saw that they were happier and that they're content and they're living, or whatever you want to call it.
And safe.
Yeah, and safe, yeah. And he just, he smiled, and it was a bittersweet ending, and he's like, yeah, my life is Spider-Man. I need to be that person, and it requires sacrifice, and I think they should commit to that. But I think Spider-Man needs a new, not identity, but he needs to carve a new path forward, meeting new people, heading off to college, university, and just seeing more of the struggle of the balance that you need, especially as more of an adult version. I think all of us in our lives, we struggle a lot with, balancing everything that needs to be balanced, work, relationships, all that kind of stuff. You add in the superhero side of things. It would be very interesting to see Tom Holland's Peter Parker take on that. So to see Zendaya part of it kind of does let me down a little. It could work, but I would much rather have seen this Peter, at least for the start of the fourth movie, just be saddened by what happened and trying to move on and move forward in his life. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Spider-Man always needs a love interest because that's inaugural to his story. So I think he mentioned it the other day that we could just have Gwen Stacy and as that love interest and him pursuing her and building up a relationship with that. But I think they've already spent 3 films building this sort of relationship up with MJ that they can't just really drop it. Like Zendaya has to be in it in some sort of capacity because you can't have a Tom Holland Spider-Man film without the love interest that he's been trying to get for the past 3 films.
He had it though.
He did, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, she could just be named as a cameo. So it'll just be like in a passing thing, like,
That's true.
bumping shoulders in college or
Yeah.
something like that. And then he actually does end up going the Gwen Stacy route. But yeah, I think you are right. I think he does need to move on from Ned and all those characters, Flash as well, Zendaya's MJ, and just start becoming the adult Peter Parker, finding the job at the Daily Bugle and working at that. And obviously finding a relationship with Gwen Stacy as well.
Yeah. Look, I'll say this, and I just thought about it now. The way that this can work for Zendaya to come back as MJ is, you mentioned before that he saw that they were safe. He reconciles with her, explains everything. She has visions or understands it or whatever. They're back together. By the end of it, she dies. It's not funny. It's not funny. It's not meant to be funny. But that would be so devastating for the character of Spider-Man, and he would learn a massive lesson. That's how it can work, because he would suffer the consequences of his actions.
I think so too, because he's lost his uncle, he's lost his aunt, he's lost his mentor.
Yeah.
And now he's lost his love interest.
He would get her killed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sort of like the Gwen Stacy of the MCU.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know at what point you're putting the character through too much.
I just fucking throw everything at him. Push him to his limits.
I mean, they did that in No Way Home. I don't know how it's going to go, because, No Way Home kind of wrapped up the trilogy aspect of it.
Yeah.
It depends if they're going to form a new trilogy. If it's just Spider-Man 4 and that's it, they can go any direction they want. But if they say, we're doing, one last trilogy of Sony MCU Spider-Man, then it would need to be like a full kind of, storyline for that character rather than just, movie by movie. So, it'd have to have.
It'll need to be planned out properly.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
All right, that's enough Spider-Man talk for this podcast. Now we'll move on.
Never enough Spider-Man talk.
Now we move on to the one that we've been biting at to talk about for quite a while, and that's Ted Lasso Season 3. The last episode just released last week. Ted Lasso is a big film for both me and James. We both enjoyed
Film?
Yep, film. TV series. For me and James, we both enjoyed both the first 2 seasons at least, and we're somewhat underwhelmed about this 3rd season, the way it's played out so far. And now we've got the conclusion to this pretty much series ending sort of episode. So, James, take it away.
I'd like to apologize to the audience for Nan. He has lied to you today and said that we're somewhat underwhelmed by this. I'm extremely underwhelmed. In fact, I'm kind of pissed off. They butchered a great TV series for Season 3. I'll say that much. My history with Ted Lasso, I found it during New Zealand's 3-month lockdown because we needed a way to stay sane by that point. And just in that time in my life, it hit me really hard and in all the right ways. And, Season 2 hit as well in the same ways, because they were both, had this resemblance of, positivity and optimism and being kind and all that kind of stuff. That is what Ted Lasso is. I'm not saying that the Season 3 is not that. It's just not naturally that. It's so forced. And I have so much to say about Season 3. I'll try make this more of a back and forth without me just speaking 10 minutes straight. So please interject if you want to take over or elaborate on anything that I'm saying. But the structure of season 3 is horrendous. I had no idea like what the point of some of those episodes were. I felt like the last 3 episodes were a race to the finish line.
And then everything in between is just filler.
Yeah, everything in between is filler. In terms of the Premier League aspect, what? Like, Richmond's been predicted to be the last team. Oh, they lose 4 in a row. Oh, they're bad. Oh, Zava comes in. They win 5 in a row. Oh, Zava's out. Oh, they lose 5 in a row. Oh, Ted discovers a triangle thing. Oh, they win 17 matches in a row. Oh, they didn't win the entire thing. Sorry, spoilers, by the way. But yeah, like it's just there's no structure to it. There's no build up to that finale. I remember the first one, and I keep saying this to you. It built up the finale because they had to win that. They had to win it to not be relegated and all that kind of stuff. So that part of it pisses me off, especially because that is like the backbone of the whole series is
winning the whole fucking thing.
Yeah, they're a soccer team. They don't have to win the whole thing, but if you're gonna have soccer, it needs to be compelling. And it can't just be Ted randomly discovering a triangle thing because he has a placebo effect on some acid or whatever it was. As for characters, I'm gonna go through them one by one. Ted Lasso just randomly wants to be with the son. I'm not saying that he never missed his son through the series, but it was never felt. Do you ever did you feel like that?
Bad timing asking me a question. You can have that.
Thank you.
A little. I think we could clearly see throughout all 3 seasons the struggle.
But did season 3 exaggerate it instantly, randomly, out of nowhere?
I think so. I think the seeds were definitely planted in season 2 that he just he wants his son there more and stuff, and is happier when his son is over in London with him.
Yeah.
So I'm not really mad at that aspect and him wanting to be with his son.
I'm not mad at it. It's just the fact of the way it was done, because I watched that first episode and I was like, he's going to go back to his son by the end because he just missed him so much, and you just knew what it was doing.
Yeah,
it's very predictable. Nothing with his wife came to pass, or his ex-wife, and I really felt like they were building that she didn't feel that relationship with the therapist.
Especially in that last episode when she was intense into the game, and then the cunt was just on his phone.
Yeah,
and, mocking soccer as well.
Yeah, was it you that I spoke to about Ted Lasso and about the therapist?
Don't know.
Oh no, it was Kyan the other night. Because he was saying how that therapist was just a bad person. He should be cancelled for life, or revoked of his therapist.
Sorry, yes, sorry. I thought you were talking about the female therapist, Ted's therapist.
No.
That's why I got so confused.
The male marriage counselor for Ted and his ex-wife, how they were together. But I felt like there was one episode where, Ted and her could rekindle and that she missed him and his positivity or whatnot. Nothing came to pass. As for Ted and his mother, it was very underwhelming, very rushed. It kind of just came out of the blue and ended straight away. So, the last shot is of him, and it's not at all really satisfying. I'll go through to another point. Nathan Shelley, Nate the Great, Nate the shit in this one, because just another poor writing example right here. Throughout the series, I was continuously wondering, am I meant to hate this guy? Am I meant to like him?
As in season 3?
Season 3, what are they doing? He left being an absolute asshole to Ted. He joined Rupert. He joined West Ham, a rival soccer team, and they're showing us him trying to get a girlfriend, and it's just
being dumped by a supermodel and stuff like
that.
I'm trying to make us feel for him.
Yeah, I'm what are you doing with this character? His pursuit to get a girlfriend, I've never cared about it. It's never been the seeds have never been laid in the first 2 seasons. It was just kind of random. I know I think he kissed Keely at one point. Do you remember that?
No, I don't remember it.
Yeah, in season 2, I'm pretty sure he kissed Keely and then he spat in the mirror when Keely was very nice to him. So I guess it kind of does it, but the whole satisfaction or the reconciliation between Ted Lasso and Nate was
underwhelming.
The emotions were there, and I felt the emotions when he was, because the actor who plays Nathan Shelley was very good in that moment. Like, he should be nominated for an Emmy because it really was. He did a lot for a scene that was not earned at all.
Especially when the players were like bringing up the torn out believe, and they had the hands down. He was like tearing up with his hands down.
Yeah.
So like you could actually see him like trying to get to the middle of the hand pile.
And further to that, the way he came back was just so like out of the blue. I was like, what is going on? Like, he's just there, and I know Beard was like, oh yeah, you got the job and stuff like that. I'd rather have seen something more. I wanted more of an intimate conversation with him and Ted, at least earlier on in the season or something.
I think
I needed so much more.
I would have liked it if the West Ham game, the first one, where I was at West Ham, wasn't in like the first 3 episodes. It was actually in the middle point.
Yeah.
And then in that middle point, we see Richmond up and beating West Ham with like, I don't know, X amount of minutes to go. And then we see Rupert come down to the field and like be a cunt to Nathan as he was to what we saw in this one.
Yeah.
Like pushing him and be like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, sort your shit out. And then that's that realization that Nate is like, I have to go back. Because like we already have these like 5 episodes where he's like trying to get into Rupert's good books and he just keeps, dodging and whatnot. And then that moment happens and he's like, I can't be a manager for this sort of person.
Yeah.
And the next 5 episodes is him going back to Teddy, so he has interactions with the players and he has interactions with Beard, and then he finally goes to Ted and was like, can you please take me back, and I'm sorry. So pretty much that emotional moment in the finale happens in the actual episode. Yeah. And then we have like 2 episodes of him with actually interacting with the team.
Would have been a lot better. This should have been resolved earlier on in the season. But with him, I never really understood why he was such an arsehole. I know it probably would have been stuff related to his dad and stuff like that. And, you go back to the episode where he made peace with his dad, and that was a horrible episode.
Unearned.
And his dad was just like, oh, I don't know how to handle being a father to a genius. And he's like, you think I'm a genius? Oh, it's just the most dumb, it's bad writing. It is bad writing. It comes out of nowhere. I'm like, oh, okay. And then, it cuts to them having a nice little meal and stuff. It's like, oh, okay, well.
It doesn't even feel like as if the writers for the season wrote the first 2. It feels like as if they've completely changed the writing team.
It's funny because there was one person that left the writing team for season 3 and isn't there for season 1 and 2. And apparently the writer that left, I don't know his name, but he is very competent, very good at, structuring a TV series, episode by episode and stuff like that. So people were like, oh, okay, this is probably a big reason as to why it feels so like cluttered and, drawn out at times. Who else do we need to cover? Rebecca. She found love.
This is actually a really dumb one. So I'm going to jump in here before you.
Jump in.
Because throughout obviously she had that whole, what's it? Psycho? No, not Psycho.
Rupert?
No.
Sam?
Nah, the fucking, what are they called? Gypsy people? People that see the future, foresight?
Oh, yeah. What happened there?
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know the fucking term for it, but someone read her fucking tarot cards, and obviously, like, we were getting hints throughout the series
that it was real.
That it was real, and then, like, most of it was towards Sam Obazanya.
She's meant to be pregnant with his child, right?
Yeah, or something like that. And then there was a scene in a couple seasons ago where they like look back at each other while watching a film, and they like clearly show like they both like had feelings for each other. Yeah. And then she ends up going to, or what supposedly was set up at the end of it was going to the guy that she met for like a night in Germany.
At Amsterdam, but
Amsterdam, yeah. So that was like, okay. Yeah. You spent like the entirety of season 2 building up this relationship with Sam.
Yeah.
And then you have teasers of them like looking back at each other and whatnot.
I'm glad they never went that way because that relation was very uncomfortable.
It was weird, but it's more earned than whatever the fuck we got.
It is more earned. I would have loved to see what they had done with it. But yeah, you go back to that first episode and it's like, the tarot cards or, the fortune teller or whatever, and then like saying the future, and then further episodes they show like hints of it. I think it was like a green matchbox or a green card or something like that Sam gave her, and it all felt like it was coming true and stuff like that. Nothing happened with that in the end. No. And I thought they wasted a episode of her falling in love with that guy on his boat in Amsterdam. But clearly they didn't waste that time because he sees her at the airport.
In the dumbest fucking way possible.
Yeah, his daughter apparently falls in front of him. It's cheap. It's cheap. It's easy writing. It's fine. I don't care too much about that part of Rebecca. It was more about Rebecca and Ted's goodbye. Go to Roy again. Wasted. Just nothing. Like, I'm being harsh. I know that, but I think Roy has developed a lot over the course of the series. But where he was at the start or at the end of episode 1, he's in the exact same spot for the last episode. I guess the only thing he learns is that he doesn't need to change. Perfection is not something that you can get, and perfection is boring. Be unique, whatever the message is. No real growth there. I'd rather to see him being like vulnerable to Keela, like, hey, look, I wasn't too busy. I was just scared because we're in serious or something like that.
Yeah.
It's going to bring me to Keely now. We've had our criticisms about what they did to Keely in season 3, discussing them privately. Way to kill a character.
Stupid.
That has to be one of the worst things.
Fucking dumb. I thought I had my last fucking dumb throughout this podcast, but no, this is another fucking dumb.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Keely.
Yeah.
Yes. Just, I don't know what they were thinking with this. Her and Roy break up, fine. I get it. I could see it. Her and that relationship with Jack, your investor for your company.
Mm-hmm.
Stupid. I liked the whole Roy and Keela relationship. That felt natural. It worked at the end of season 1. It worked throughout season 2. They were overcoming, certain barriers and obstacles throughout it. It was something worth rooting for. Sure, it ends, but they should have reconciliated just based on growth from the two individuals, being like, okay, we need each other. We're there for each other. We love each other. And then the other side of Keely is her venture as an entrepreneur. She's always been, with banter, her entrepreneurial ventures and businesses and stuff like that. I would love to have seen her trying to not survive, but trying to make it as someone running her own business. She just cakes it, ruins her own business, or like, I guess Jack ruins it or whatever, and just making bad decisions. I would have loved to see some success there or some growth there at least. I don't think she grew at all. I think she regressed as a character. I think Jamie is really the only character that's really done justice. If you look from, season 1 version of a character to season 3, I think Jamie's gone through the most. And
he had a full redemption.
Grown the most. Yeah, he is kind of the MVP of the whole thing. But to see what that character went through, how he got there, him mending things. I'm just so emotional and angry talking about this, but him mending things with his father
felt unearned,
stupid. Like, what? I saw that and I was like, what? Like, when, how, why, dumb, stupid, idiot. But yeah, I messaged you after I'd seen the episode, and before you'd seen the episode, I'm like, that was really good, but all of it felt unearned. It would have been really good if it had earned it. But yeah, I've talked enough about this. It's getting me like annoyed now because Ted Lasso was looking to be one of my favorite shows of all time, and it takes it. Not Game of Thrones fashion, but
Very close.
quite close. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely disappointing, especially just the way that season 2 ended and what it was going to set up, and then just having it all unravel in the way it did. It just felt cheap. Half the stuff doesn't even feels unearned or serves no purpose, like the Keely and Jax sort of romance that didn't really serve any purpose to Keely's character or the story at all. The only consequences was that Jax pulled her business out of banter. And that's it. We don't see Keely grow or anything from that moment. She didn't even get up. She didn't even end up being with either Raw or Jamie. She just kept staying single.
And do you remember at the start of the series, she brought on that friend that was obviously bad for her business?
Oh yes,
Yeah.
served no purpose for that as well.
Stupid as, yeah.
Yeah, that was dumb. There's a lot of. I think the best one would have been that. The best part of Keely's storyline for the season would be her financial advisor. You know, like we saw them have build up a relationship. You know, have Keely buy her a farewell thing, and then having her come back, the financial advisor come back, wanting to stay with Keely.
Yeah.
Even though some of her decision making was quite poor, because she saw potential in both her and the company.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the best aspect of Keely I can think of for the season.
Yeah.
But everything else was bad. Bad, and that horrific marriage scene. Was that supposed to be at? Was it supposed to be at Stonehenge?
It was Stonehenge. I was about to bring that up. That CGI
That
shot
was horrendous.
Imagine just seeing that and be like, "Yeah, this is good to release."
Whoever did that, if they find a job anywhere else in anything to do with, I don't know, graphic design, visual
animation,
don't
hire that person.
Don't hire that person. Go watch the last 30 seconds of fucking Ted Lasso, and you can see the work on that. That was horrendous, but
so bad.
But Baird, I feel he grew as well, because he was always there with Ted and stuff, and then he got to the plane and was like, "No, I really love this girl. I'm sorry, bro, but I need to leave you to."
It was kind of cringy, but
it was, but it was still showed growth in that character, you know, not just following his best friend. Around.
Yeah. I think he felt like he owed Ted Lasso for everything that Ted Lasso did for a man. Yeah.
So when I say a highlight, it's very loosely, but that's one of the highlights of season 3. Everything else you just pretty much covered. Nate was unearned.
For the comedy, I thought this was the worst season by far.
Oh yeah, there were some genuinely funny moments.
There was
in there, but it just didn't hit the same as season 1 and 2.
Especially season 1. Do you remember all the little Ted Lasso witty, quick comments and stuff? Just the way he would talk, it was just funny, and a lot of it felt real forced and kind of cringy now. And just there were some points where I cringed hard, and I was like, "Wow, this is forced. It's just not good." Yeah, I thought the comedy was way off as well.
Yeah, and then Rebecca moving on from Rupert seemed so rushed in that last 2 episodes.
Oh, where he where he got into a relationship with his someone else, cheating again,
but you know how Rebecca always had that sort of thing, like I'm scared of Rupert sort of thing, we have to beat them because I can't, and then just suddenly she overcame that within the last 2 episodes.
Yeah, she's
just
good.
Sort of out of nowhere, and then the stuff where big things did happen, and it happened behind the scenes where we didn't actually see it. We just saw, ex Rupert sort of partners come out.
Yeah.
When they both knocked on her door, we never got to see that conversation.
I know, that would have been they could have done good stuff there.
Yeah.
That conversation.
So that aspect was a bit weird, and then obviously Rupert having a meltdown and stuff. And then having cringy jokes "Oh, your balls are showing" when he pushed the coach. It was just you're having a serious moment here, and you're just forcing the most childish thing as well. It's just push him, but have him on the floor or something, they'd be "Oh, your balls are showing. Oh, fix your balls." Or something,
just have it be tense. It was good, and then it just had that. And I'm like, oh, it doesn't need that. Yeah.
It's weird, but what can you do?
Yeah. If they were to continue Ted Lasso, but it's obviously Jason Sudeikis, Ted Lasso is the only one who's left.
Mm-hmm.
And he made it clear in what's his name? Trent?
Trent Krim.
Trent Krim, yeah, that it was never about him.
Mm-hmm.
Could you see them season 4? Would you? I feel like you'd watch it, but would you care for it? Do you want it, or is it? It's a special ingredient, Ted Lasso.
I think what makes Ted Lasso is Ted Lasso.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, if we get rid of the title. Oh, yeah. I don't know what they could call it. Bed. Oh, Roy, because it's the coach.
It would have to be something like Richmond FC or something,
The Richmond way or some shit.
Or the Richmond way, I mean, I think Ted Lasso was a big part of Richmond. Obviously, you had Rebecca like trying to drive this coach out and then forming a relationship and then having like an emotional goodbye, like buying a first class ticket to go through the airport customs just to try to bring him back and change the decision, I think that's Richmond is Ted Lasso. But if you were going to do a spin-off, then I don't know what else you could do. It would have to stick with the Richmond team. Really.
Richmond trying to get to number 1, I guess.
Yeah, or trying to win the whole thing. But even if they do end up winning the whole thing, it would just be a bit minute without Ted there.
Yeah, it wouldn't work. And the fact that they came second, if they got first, it wouldn't be that big of a deal because they came closer.
I don't think I want to. If there were to be a spin-off, I don't want it to be with Richmond. It needs to be with a different team.
I would
you can call it like Ted Lasso. I don't know, fucking Man City or something.
Yeah.
Because you know how everyone nowadays has the Hunger Games songs of blah 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 blah.
Oh, Ted Lasso, the Richmond way of Richmond AFC or something. Yeah.
But except don't have Richmond in it. Or the main focus is in Richmond. It's a completely different team.
West Ham, yeah.
A different team, different characters. That's a core group, and then obviously the characters from the original can like pop up. Like when that club versus Richmond.
You could definitely do that. I would say the only way it can work is, you obviously got the same core of people outside of Jason Sudeikis, but they're in the Champions League. And, the Champions League is the top 4 from Premier League. And then it's like, I think it's top 4 from La Liga and League One. So it's the best teams in the world ever outside of, country teams. So that could be and have Richmond win that would be like, I think I'd say it's probably the best league for, club teams, franchise teams. So if they got into that, which they did because they're top 4, and be like, okay, we need to win this now.
Still feels a bit unearned because Ted needs to be there, really.
Yeah, you are right about that. I don't know if it could work. I feel like they won't do it because the reception for season 3 has been bad. If everyone had loved it and Apple was getting so much more viewership because of Ted Lasso, you could be seeing it pretty easily, I feel. Yeah. I reckon Jason Sudeikis could come back as well.
I think he could probably convince him.
But hey, he got 12 million from this season.
It's enough for the divorce, eh?
Moving on.
There we go. That's when I've said a bit too much. You want to share this news? Because I haven't read it.
Yes, sorry for interjecting you before, but it just popped up as a notification on Twitter. So I was like, it's pretty significant because we did our most anticipated, DCU Chapter 1, Gods and Monsters, and I know Brave and the Bold was second. I know Superman Legacy was your number 1.
No, it was the Batman Part 2 was number 1 because we included that as well.
Oh, that'd be number 1. Superman second, and then Brave and Bold third. Brave and Bold is going to be directed by Andy Muschietti, who just did The Flash.
Mm-hmm.
And we've talked about it extensively about how The Flash came to be, the problems that occurred, and the reception being overwhelmingly positive. What are your thoughts on? Yeah,
should we do a quick take now? Oh, I feel we could probably do a quick take now and then dive in it to properly next week. But I'm sure knowing us, we're just going to dive into it now.
Yeah.
Everything with The Flash has never been bad towards the director. It's always been the major of the controversy has been with Ezra Miller himself.
Yeah,
and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
We're seeing The Flash this week on Wednesday.
Yeah.
So we can actually see how he's done the Flash.
And
if it-
dive into it better next week.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So for just based on, I'd say, the reactions towards the Flash right now,
Mhm.
if it does live up to that hype, then this is good news. This is something to get excited for. Like you're having a director that's done a film and somewhat off this franchise, and it worked.
Mhm.
And now they're coming into the new sort of franchise now.
Yeah.
So there'll be a very good plus for James Gunn and crew. But if it fails, then,
Yeah. I don't think it will fail just because I've seen way too much positive stuff versus negative stuff.
Yeah.
I've heard a few negative things here and there, like it just some of it's not, the potential's not fully realized. It's not as great as reviews say, but that is far fewer than what I've seen positive.
Yeah.
I
don't think I've seen a negative thing.
Yeah,
for it yet.
it's just still reactions at the end of the day. So I'd say you're looking between 80 and 85 Rotten Tomatoes is what I would predict, just because it feels like it's going to be a volatile film in terms of how critics perceive it.
Yeah.
As for him directing it, I'm on board with it because The Flash is, I think we can say it's obviously a good movie. We haven't seen it. Sure, we can go into it more next week, but it's very, very likely it's going to be a good movie, perhaps a great movie.
Mhm.
The movie has Batman in it. And at least from the marketing has showed us, Batman's a pretty prominent part of The Flash. He already has a grasp on how Batman can work in a film. So if he can apply that to Batman, the Brave and the Bold, then it's kind of a good match made in heaven kind of ordeal, I guess.
Yeah.
And you can correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm pretty sure I am wrong, but at least Ezra Miller's version of The Flash and Robin, they can share similarities in how they are. Goofy, not as good, unexperienced.
Nah, because I'm pretty sure Batman Brave and the Bold is about his son Damian Wayne, who's a lot more darker. It's not Batman and Robin. It's Batman and Robin, but the Robin is his son in the comics, which is Damian Wayne.
Yeah, okay. If it's darker, then yeah, sure. Because I know they're doing Swamp Thing, and that's in an R-rated horror movie. So I feel like the James Gunn's version of DCU won't be worried to go darker with it. I just know Robin from films.
Yeah, which is
a little bit of a goofy child.
Dick Grayson, yeah.
Yeah, he's not really like the darker, more serious, skilled combatant or anything. So I figured, Ezra Miller could, handling that kind of persona into a comic movie, he could do. But if you are, if they do commit to, the Brave and the Bold comic book storyline, then it's going to be very different. But he has experience with the Batman. He's made a good comic movie. I didn't even know you knew Brave and the Bold. So you've read the comics, The Brave and the Bold.
Can't remember if it's the comics or I'm pretty sure there was like an animated series called The Brave and the Bold. It might have had like a short comic book arc.
Right.
But,
From what you know of that, and we haven't seen Flash yet, but we know enough about it to make enough of an assumption here. Could what the director's done with this, which seems to be very good, would it directly apply? Is there very strong similarities between those two movies and storylines and comic book arcs, or is it a different challenge for the director?
I feel it'd be somewhat different. Because if it is Batman and his son as Robin, Damian Wayne, then we're gonna get a more dynamic, of a relationship between Batman and his son, because his son throughout the comics was usually biting back and doing his own thing and not really quite listening to Batman.
Yeah.
So we'll definitely see that, like, Batman, Bruce Wayne trying to like parent his kid, but then also try to like teach him how to be like a good vigilante as well. So I think it will be different. It will be different to the Flash. I reckon.
Yeah. Interesting.
If they go that route, then I'm thinking.
And obviously we can't make a a correct guess here, but do you like this choice? Just plain and simple. Do you like this choice?
Oh, director choice.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't comment. Can't remember anything he's directed, so I'm not sure. I'm just going.
But knowing that the Flash has got good things and
good things, then yeah. Just based on the Flash stuff I've seen, then yeah, I'm happy with this choice.
Yeah.
But I can't remember if I've seen any of his other work or not.
Right. He directed It 1. He directed It 2. So that's something.
It wasn't bad, but it wasn't good as well. Alright.
It 2 wasn't that good.
It was overlong. It was very long, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't go out the way to say like they're terrible films. They're okay films.
It's for me, because I'm not excited for it. I think it was my 7th for the DCU.
Yeah, you had it very low.
Thing because I'm sick of Batman, and Batman's my second favorite comic book character. I think they keep killing that character like nothing else. Reminds me of the Godfather line, like, look what they've done to my boy. Yeah, besides like the video game franchise and Nolan trilogy, nothing else has really been great. Obviously, the Batman. I said that a second after you, so it was on my mind. But yeah, it's just too much different variations, and it's Bruce Wayne. It's not just like Miles and Peter and Gwen and Peter B. Parker. It's just the same character, the same human character. It just annoys me. It's a different topic for another time, but I like this choice. If I hate the Flash, I'll come on next week and I'll say I don't like the choice. Quite simply, but I think it's a good, safe choice, and I think it shows that James Gunn fully believes in what this director can bring to the character and bring to the table in terms of DC. And if Flash is as good as we're hearing, then honestly, it's a no-brainer. You want to keep him in for the next chapter of DC. If it is as good as everyone says it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we'll find out. I do think we'll like the movie.
Probably. Yeah.
Quite a bit. Yeah.
All right. So that will do us on today's episode, I feel. Thanks everyone for listening, wherever you're listening from, whether it's in New Zealand or not. Thank you. If you have any questions about this episode, or you want to talk about Ted Lasso in depth, or if Vin Diesel's not been a prick, then yeah, sure, head over to any of our social media platforms and flick us a message. We're quite active on Twitter and Pinterest, really, is our big ones for social media.
TikTok.
Oh, yes, TikTok. Sorry, TikTok and Twitter would be our big boys. Otherwise, you can head over to YouTube, where we have a lot of videos as well. Or if you want to see what we get to when we're not talking, then you can head over to moviegains.com, where we write about stuff such as, 4K reviews, physical media stuff, box office, you name it, we write it. And if you want to listen to more of our unstructured looseness of Let's Be Real, you can find us on any podcast platform. We're mainly on Spotify, but wherever you pod from, search us up, Let's Be Real, and we're on there, and give us a listen. That'll do us on today's episode. Thanks, guys. We'll catch you later.
Peace.